Oh, great.
Do you want me to go ahead and get everything set up on my end?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. It is Christopher and Elijah coming to you with the latest edition of the Downburst. We have a slight risk of severe weather, and like we've always said, we'll come on the night before, kind of give you an in-depth look, kind of behind the scenes, really just in-depth looking at the latest model since the HRRR has come out. And so we'll give a couple minutes here for people to join in. If you guys have any comments or questions, make sure you put them in the chat. Those of you that are over on my side, I can see those, and Elijah can see all the other ones. So definitely ask any questions that you have concerning to tomorrow's possibility, let's call it that way, possibility, as you can see, of severe weather. So, all right. Let's kind of go ahead and get after it. So I'm going to go ahead and swap everything over to the weather front, and so we can kind of you see each other there. So right now, let me pull this over where it's kind of in the middle. Perfect. So just to kind of recap, I know Elijah's been talking about it today a couple of times. I've been talking about it myself over on my page, but we are under a level 2. Most of the southern Tennessee weather viewing area is under a slight risk here, except for parts there of Maury County under a marginal risk. But definitely what we're going to be looking at and we're going to message tonight is the fact that wind is our main threat right now. We do have a very small tornado threat, and sometimes when we say tornado, it doesn't matter what we say. We think it's EF4s. It's not going to be that day, okay, guys? It's a very small threat nonetheless. But as you saw that there on screen, Our biggest threat is at 15%, which is wind. And I'm going to get a little geeky nerdy. And so what that means is technically, if you're inside the yellow, that means you have a 15% chance of seeing a severe wind event within 25-mile radius of your location. So if I were here in my old hometown of Tullahoma, went 25 miles around, there could likely be a severe thunderstorm warning that could produce a down tree or something like that. So again, I can show you all that. The tornado risk, even though we're saying it's very small, the Storm Projection Center is placing that really up here into Kentucky, into the Ohio Valley and parts of Cincinnati. So that's where they think the best shot of that is concerned. And hail, we may have some small hail, but as you can tell, the hail risk is in Albuquerque, New Mexico tomorrow. So I don't think there's anything we have to worry there. But we definitely could see, like with some of those taller storms, we could, see maybe some small pea-sized hail, not anything forecasted that, would, cause property damage that can be considered a severe hail. So, all
It's
right.
very
So
hard to get hail this time of year with how warm it is outside. Around here anyway, the really big hail really hard to get. Um,
absolutely.
it's so someone's already asking in the chat room on the Southern Tennessee weather side how's the Shelbyville weather looking. Um, so we'll get into that here in just a second. But
Yeah.
this is for tomorrow. We're talking about tomorrow's severe weather risk. So I guess we can
Let's
go
just
ahead
go
and
ahead and
get
go over to
into the
HRRR.
yeah.
Yeah.
I say
So,
that's the best way to do it.
all right. So just so you guys know, as we're talking, I've talked a little bit about weather front. That's typically what I mean. We definitely use the bearing graphics when we're on Southern Tennessee weather side, but internally when we're looking at things, maybe just on our mobile phone, we're using weather front. It's a great tool. So right up here at the
Absolutely.
top, where I'm arrowing, that is the timestamp. I can't make it any bigger. Oh, Paul has a hard time seeing. I know I do, and I got cataracts even at my age, and so I'm like it kind of gets blurry. But right up there is where that timestamp is. Okay, so this is the 0Z. It's kind of important. Last time Elijah kind of talked a little bit about that 0Z. About every 6 hours, it's kind of an important time. Even though this the HRRR updates every hour, it only goes 18 hours out. But every 6 hours it goes out 48. And so to be able to get a longer view, especially as these storms get in, like last night I talked about it on my page, you kind of have to look at the 0Z, the 6Z, the 12Z, and all that 18Z. All right, so what I'm
Mhm.
going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into Saturday, okay? So this is, you notice some rain was coming in here at about 5 a.m. And please know, when I say 5 a.m., that does not mean that is exactly 5 a.m. These are only estimates. Elijah and I laughed last week. We were talking about storms moving in at midnight, and they moved in at like 9 o'clock. So just know that these are only estimates. But looks like we have some round of more scattered now. If I were to compare the run, this exact run, let's see here. Let's see. At 8, this was at 18Z, and so I can get a comparison of the runs, and you can tell it's kind of been all over the place here, from run to run. But it seems like here, kind of recently, and maybe the trends kind of settled in at that around 5 a.m., but really showing that the storms are more scattered in nature. And so
Mhm.
what I just did there is I looked at previous runs at the exact same time to compare model run to model run. And that's what forecasters do. They like to see consistency in those models. They can have a higher confidence. And a lot of times in wording, they're like, everything's conditional, because sometimes the models, even from run to run, don't agree from something that changed when it initialized, when it began the run. So anyways,
And when what we're looking at here is the first round. So I in my post earlier this morning, and I think Christopher did too on his page, we're really talking about two separate rounds of
yeah,
activity.
yeah,
Round number one is going to be tomorrow morning, and then round number two is going to be tomorrow afternoon, which we'll talk about in a second. Round number one, at least as it stood earlier this morning, was looking like we could have some pretty widespread activity for a lot of us. But some of the latest data that we're getting in this afternoon and evening is kind of shifting towards more scattered activity, as Christopher was saying a moment ago. So it may not be a total washout tomorrow morning, but a few of us are going to get some rain showers, and even a rumble of thunder or two will be possible. I don't think we're really dealing with a severe weather risk for tomorrow morning. We're just not going to have enough storm fuel in the atmosphere that early in the morning. I'll be honest with y'all, the last time that I remember there being a substantial severe weather risk in the morning time was actually when I was still in middle school, maybe high school. But I remember watching it on TV because I was getting ready for school that morning. There was a tornado, an EF0 or EF1 tornado that went through Cool Springs, Tennessee. Oh, well, hold on. I do remember one. There was an EF0 tornado in Tullahoma in 2021. That was the most recent.
December. Yeah.
Yes, December 2021. That's really the last. And correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, but that's the last one that comes to my mind. At least we've had a substantial severe weather risk in the morning.
It was.
It's very uncommon. Like
Yeah.
2021 was the last time we've talked about that. Really being a big time severe weather risk in the morning. We're not going to be dealing with that tomorrow. It's just just some scattered showers and maybe a rumble of thunder or two, but nothing severe for tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really the end of it.
Yeah, that's it. It's just that we've talked about the rain coming in a couple of waves. That rain coming in the morning, just not overly concerned with it, to be honest with you. It's spotty. It may be a rumble of thunder there or not. Um, Not everybody may even get rain out of that. And so let's
Mhm.
go ahead and fast forward everything. So this is kind of what the model thinking is going to happen. So that's so I just went to about 10 or 11 o'clock. So you see the storms kind of clear out, have maybe some spotty showers that pop back up, especially in the southern tier. Please remember placement of this. It only shows that there'll be pop-ups. It may not exactly happen there down 231. 12 o'clock, so around noon, maybe some scattered showers, maybe toward the north of us. And then we start to see what the models and things have been talking about is that the energy of the atmosphere recovers from all the rain that comes in the morning, because we've got basically a shortwave trough. I won't get into all the details of that, but a trough, I talked about that on Look Ahead. That's why you need to watch that. We've been talking about this for a while. That's been set up, and you can start to see like around 2 o'clock, you really start to see the storms fire off, and that would be they almost kind of form right there in Maury County, right where if you go back for just a second, let me go to the outlook, just kind of go back to it. It almost forms right over where the marginal risk is. Okay. So SBC's done a good job of placing that. And so the only thing is I have to put it all back into together here. All right. So I wish you could just save it. I guess I could have two of them pulled up at the same time. I didn't think of that. But you start to see from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It doesn't, you can definitely see, oh, wow, looks like the intensity of these storms have increased, right? And so that's why we've got that slight risk of severe weather, that level 2 risk. Okay. So 3 o'clock, they're still rocking and rolling. And, even they look to strengthen a little bit more, even toward the state line. Down there in parts of basically around Flintville and basically right over Timms Ford Lake there in Franklin County. 4 o'clock still in the area, but moved out of the east or the western portions of the viewing area. 5 o'clock, they're still hanging around like a mosquito, as Elisha alluded to, that you can't quite kill. And then there's some storms that kind of form right there along that front itself. And so it's really got stormy waves here, really. If you go all the way back to 2 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, some stuff forms on the backside. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, so they tend to look like they re-intensify a little bit. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and then as the sun goes down, that what happens there this time of year. And so some folks that were asking about timing, that's what we're going to be looking at. It's going to be kind of in waves, and it really starts early afternoon. So even though that says 2 o'clock, we'll say early afternoon because it really starts over here at 1. So I would just tell everybody, start being a little bit weather aware in the afternoon, after like literally after noon, after 12 o'clock. as these things start to fire up. But again, it's the wind that's the biggest shot there, and so that's really it. So 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's out of here. So
And I want to bring something else up, Christopher, because you can see with the model guidance that we're showing here how there's like those purplish cores and the red deep cores and the purplish cores. That's kind of where the model is trying to pick up on some of the stronger activity. And you notice how it's not red and purple everywhere, right? So when we look at this, we have to keep in mind that, some of us are going to get a good storm tomorrow, but others of us not going to see very much at all, right? Tomorrow afternoon could end up being fairly dry for a few of us, but the ones that get a storm, it could be a rough ride for a few hours. So, that's just something, it's the nature of storms that we get this time of year. As Christopher was saying earlier, we have these storms with these huge deep cores that build up very quickly in the heat of the day, and then they go away just as quick as they came up. They're not super widespread and damaging wind events like the squall lines like we can get in the fall, winter, and in spring. Okay, so don't be going to bed tonight expecting this widespread, huge thunderstorm complex or a huge squall line or anything like that to come through, because we're just really dealing with scattered afternoon and evening storms. And a few of them could congeal into a little line or something, if you want to call it that. But we're not dealing with a major severe weather risk here at all, in my opinion. And we'll have to watch where the storms decide to form tomorrow, because, if they decide to form a little bit further west, let's say on the other side of Murray County, that'll give them a little bit of time to strengthen as they move into our region. But on the other hand, there's a couple model runs this afternoon I was noticing that have storms forming like over Manchester, Tullahoma, down into Fayetteville, kind of along, the State Route 55 corridor, and then pushing off towards the east. And that would leave, Bedford County, Marshall County, Murray County basically dry all afternoon and without any storms. So the timing of that cold front and when the storms fire off is going to make or break the forecast tomorrow. And unfortunately, that's one of the things that we're just not going to know about until we can actually see the satellite observations tomorrow and see where, the cumulus clouds are bubbling up along the cold front and everything like that. So that's why, you need to stay weather aware pretty much all afternoon tomorrow, because we could have storms fire up as early as 12 or 1 o'clock for a few of us. And then those storms will move through the region, and then they'll be completely out of here, like Christopher was saying, by 9 or 10 o'clock at the absolute latest. So it's just the nature of the activity that we have this time of year. It's a little bit more unpredictable than we would like sometimes, because I know I think I'm going bald with the way that the weather models have been acting this summer. It's been ridiculous. But it's just one of the things we have to deal with, and we're going to message it as best and as clearly as we can for all of you guys. And what we're not going to do is put in all caps, please share, and a weather alert day and all this other stuff, right? We're about the facts without going all crazy, glamorous, billboardy, that kind of stuff. We want to give you the facts the way it should be. So.
yes, we're not a first alert, forewarn, code red day.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, that's I think we were talking about this off camera before joining. I think because let's be honest, guys, we've been really dormant, even though we've had like severe thunderstorms, right? They've been that marginal risk. They've popped up. They popped off a special weather statement or maybe a severe thunderstorm warning, and they've been a bunch of marginals. And it's like all of a sudden there's a slight risk, and everybody goes, "Ooh, yay!" And we just have to be very careful how we message stuff, because I know a lot of you guys have messaged me and Elijah and on the page that you do have storm anxiety. That is a real thing. And so we just want to communicate that. And so definitely we kind of need to be aware. And so what I want to do real quick, is there another model that you would want to look at to kind of compare? Um,
Well, the thing is that a lot of these models have not yet come in all the way. Has the NAM come in? Or the short range NAM is in, at least for the next 36 hours. If you want to look at the zero Z NAM, um,
yes.
that would be a that would probably be a good one too.
All
It's a
right.
little bit more robust with the activity, I think. So that would probably be a good one to compare to.
Okay.
And
Wait a
then
minute.
we'll have to look at the QPF too for
Oh, that's right.
how
We
much
talked about
rainfall
that.
we're
Okay.
expecting. But
I'll
we
pull
can
this one.
check go with the NAM Nest.
That's what I did because
Yes,
it's
there you
more
go.
high res. Yeah, it's more high
Yes, high
res.
res.
All right,
Um,
so that was the exact same time. So just to kind of compare, this is at 1 o'clock. This is when we started to see storms firing. They've got to kind of have them in the same area of Maury County, right there on that. Let me go back an hour. So kind of shows some storms, but boom, it starts hitting the marginal risk area where there may be a little bit more, just enough instability to get them going.
mhm.
And definitely, if you look at the NAM versus what we just saw, these are definitely more. I wouldn't discreet sometimes can say make them sound super severe, but they're definitely not as clustered together as what the HRRR says, and it's got, well, it does have some stuff coming in 7, 8, 9, but it doesn't have that. Seems like once that main line kind of gets through, there's a little bit that forms on the backside. So it's similar. I would say that it's similar, other than right here where if I were to go back over to now, we're just kind of geeking out for just a minute, guys. That's what we're doing here, and I got to go back because that's the yeah. So if you look at that versus what we just saw, a little bit more widespread, not as, and that's exactly what Elijah was communicating there just a minute ago. So
Yeah,
let's
we'll just have to. It's just scattered about.
yeah, and
you
so
know,
yeah, that's what the convective allowable models are kind of showing. So let's
and
go
think
ahead.
about it. Think about it like this too for our viewers that are watching right now. Think of it like you have a white canvas, okay? Let's say I had a white canvas in front of me, and it's literally just someone is taking a paintbrush with paint on the tip of the paintbrush and just flinging the paintbrush up onto the white canvas, and it just little splotches of paint everywhere. That's something similar that we're dealing with tomorrow, where we'll just have splotches of rain and storms around. It's not like someone's taking the paintbrush and painting the whole canvas, right? Because that would mean widespread storms. We're talking about just a scattered activity. But anyway, now we're looking here at the total precipitation. So how much rainfall we can expect from this activity. And this is the latest HRRR model. So this is the one we just looked at a second ago with the storms coming in. And I'll be honest with you, it has some pretty impressive totals for a few of us. Now, if Christopher's zooming in now, and you can see that, some of those totals there in the purples, kind of getting up in the four to
That's
five
a
inch
yeah,
range.
five inch.
That's very impressive rainfall totals, right? But let me preface by saying that this is not widespread 4 to 5 inches of rain. Okay.
Right.
This is going to be like, if we do have anyone that gets 4 to 5 plus inches of rain, it's going to be like, a street or two. Like
Right.
it's going to be very, very minuscule population that gets that amount of rain. Most of us are going to get out of this event with maybe half an inch at the most. And you can see that here with the, kind of the blue colors, that's like upwards of half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch. Okay. Once you start getting into the yellow colors you see there on the map, you're getting 1 inch plus. In this particular model, run favors the southern half of the area for the or for the most amount of rain. Now, I'm not, I think that amount of rain could be anywhere in the area, not just the southern half. But
Yeah.
um, it's important to note again that um, this is very, very scattered about and going to be very localized totals if we do see any totals up to that amount. But most of us going to see maybe half an inch up to an inch. And then a few of us could see some localized flooding concerns. If you remember my post from this morning, I had the flooding threat at a medium. Okay. And that is because we could have some localized flooding issues if storms train over the same areas. If we have multiple storms that move over the same areas, that's where we could see some totals start to creep up in the 2, 3, heaven forbid, 4 or 5 inch range. I really think the 4 to 5 inch range is a big stretch at this point. But it's something we'll have to keep a close eye on for tomorrow. Is the flooding risk? And Christopher right now has a flooding risk pulled up for tonight, and then there's tomorrow's. Yeah, so this is the Weather Prediction Center flash flood risk. Okay, so think of this like the severe weather risk, but for flash flooding.
Yes.
And the only difference is the Weather Prediction Center, the flash flood risk uses a scale of 4 instead of 5, like the severe weather risk does. So we're under a level 2 out of 4 slight risk, especially along and east of US 231 for tomorrow for the potential of some flash flooding. And that's why I had the flash flooding at a medium threat for tomorrow is on my graphic that I shared this morning, because we're under that level 2 risk. And, they're seeing the same data we are, where it's showing some localized totals that, could be fairly impressive for a few of us. And we have to remember that the ground is still fairly saturated. We've had a lot of rain over the past few weeks. Okay. So it's not going to take much rain to really start ponding and becoming a nuisance very quickly. So that's just is some of the things we'll have to keep in mind for tomorrow as well, if storms move over those same areas. Now, like I was saying a second ago, this is not going to be a widespread flooding event. We're not talking about anything super crazy, but we'll have to keep a very close eye on where storms train over the next 48 hours or so as these storms move through, because they could bring a few isolated flooding problems.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's another thing that we'll have to kind of keep in mind is while sometimes we talk a lot about the severe weather risk and far as terms are concerned, flooding is also a risk there too. So I want to get back real quick. What am I looking at? Oh, the QPF. So what I want to do real quick is I would like to go back and look at. I don't know why that's still on there. Kind of last thing to kind of get into what is the environment doing? What does it look like? We could look at a lot of different things, and maybe one of these days on a Chris King the Weather Guy or maybe a live stream of that version, I'd like to go in and talk to everybody about what a SQT is. But um, I would like to kind of see what the atmosphere is looking like when these storms develop, because that's going to give us the biggest idea of what type of threats, how severe those threats would be. So I think I've got this where if I didn't, I had to. Oh yes, I did. Okay, so I kind of zoomed in so you guys could see it a little better, and I'm not going to get into all the stuff we're going to look at, but definitely we're going to have some storm fuel, which means CAPE. We're definitely going to have some instability in the atmosphere when these storms arrive. According to what this particular sounding says, is that basically the air that lifts, I talked about that in one of the weather guys, it's not going to take a lot of energy to lift that because there is absolutely no cap whatsoever. And so if storms can produce and fire off there, that we have a severe weather threat. Now, right now, the computer runs all the analysis on all the numbers and tries to predict what type of event that we would have. And right now, it just says it's going to be severe. So we would look at that maybe as a wind event. Okay. And so I just wanted to take a look at that to see what was going on. Definitely have some dry air around the mid levels of the atmosphere. But the red line, if you don't know, that is the temperature. And the green line is the dew point. And so if you notice this little dash line right here, that is what in theory an air parcel should do, like air when it lifts. And then the red is the environmental. I can get into all that later, but the delta, the difference between those two, that area is how we develop CAPE. So anyways, I wanted to look at that real quick to see before these storms fire off, what kind of atmosphere does the model think it's going to happen? So definitely it has that severe, and I think I just put Bedford County. I just try to pick something in the middle. And so I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward it. You're not going to see us on camera. You can hear us. But I'm just going to kind of fast forward again as it moves into the slight risk. So I'm going to pull just there in Southern Coffee County and see if anything looks any different. It really doesn't, other than there's a little bit more instability in the atmosphere. So maybe that's why, you look at the models, decide, hey, where does the marginal risk stop and the slight risk begin? And again, they've looked over this with lots of different models, not just the HRRR, but HRRR seems to be a fairly reliable model when it comes to severe weather. And again, we're still looking at definitely some high cape, so a lot of instability in the atmosphere. The cap, there is none whatsoever. That means, and I'll get into that later, but a cap is basically where the temperature is warmer in the atmosphere. Typically, when you go up in the atmosphere, it's colder in theory, but if it's warmer, it can make storms not initiate. It's almost like a gate or a lid that gets shoved down in the atmosphere. And so there's none of that there. So that means that it's going to be pretty quick that a storm can hit into that instability if it fires off. And again, it still says severe. So meaning that, hey, there's not a tornado threat yet, but I'm going to show you. And while we've kind of messaged a low end, not the end of the world EF5 long track tornadoes day, guys. But when I move it into 3 o'clock, where it really starts to show maybe the strongest of the storms, and I fire off a sounding in the middle of this just to see what's going on. Is it already rained the Cape out? It did not. So here's where we start to get, it looks like it's raining still because, well, I don't think it's quite raining, but you've got the lower level of the atmosphere very saturated. And now we're kind of pushing a marginal tornado threat because there are some numbers that we look at that kind of determines how much power a storm can suck the air in and turn it vertical, storm relative helicity. And those numbers are pretty strong there. And so that doesn't mean there's going to be a tornado. It says marginal tornado threat. Even if we had one, it would be brief. So that's why we've messaged a little bit that there would be one. But that's really it. Our big threat is going to be wind and the flooding. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
make you guys aware of that. So, because again,
And when we say big threat, we mean just with this specific setup, it's the greatest threat. It's
right, the
not a
main threat.
huge threat overall. Yeah,
Right,
it's
it's
not
not
a
a
huge threat overall.
right. It's not a moderate or anything. It's just it. I know 15% risk. You go, well, that's not much. That means what, about 85% chance it's not going to be. But
Yeah.
you have to understand that these are elevated risks nonetheless. And so,
Hmm.
I just wanted to take a look just a minute as these storms kind of rolled in to kind of get a thought of what would happen. And I would pretty well expect the sounding on the backside of this to look a little different. It still says severe. So, but you're gonna see that. Oh my gosh, look at the mid levels of the atmosphere. Well, not even mid levels, the low mid to almost up there to the jet stream. How dry the air just got, and so
Drier than the
that's
Sahara Desert, right there.
yeah,
Yes.
well, and that's the storms using up all that in the
Hmm.
atmosphere. We talk about storms, using up the atmosphere, or I've even heard Elijah and I both say, well, the atmosphere's worked over. Well, that's what happens in those situations. It just uses up the available moisture that comes through there. So I would check one more time just for thoroughness, and it says that the storms on the backside could have a marginal tornado threat. I'll be honest with you, I didn't quite expect that. But really, if I'm looking at spin in the atmosphere, I mean, if you look the lower level of the atmosphere, let me go to this QT so it shows up bigger for everybody. There we go. And so if I'm looking at that, you don't, the Cape's not as impressive, but really like 1400 Cape in the springtime, we could definitely be talking about, severe weather, big time. But still the mid levels dry. The lower levels are more saturated, but still it seems to think with some of these numbers here that there may still be a threat. So that's just something we'll have to be ongoing. And again, that's why Elijah said it's going to be one of those things where you're going to need to be kind of weather aware throughout the day. And just because we have a wave of storms move through doesn't mean that we're going to get the all clear right after those move through. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're planning out your Saturday. We're definitely going to have rumbles of thunder and storms that come through in waves and being a prolonged. And so we'll have to see, what really happens in the morning. What will the models, will they still look like this? As a matter of fact, the since we've actually started the 1Z, which sounds funny when I say 1Z. But I will say this. What is that? If you notice this, just from what we've been talking about, it doesn't show anything firing off until 2 o'clock, and it's more toward the east now. So again, we'll just have to keep eyes on that, and just stick with us. We'll just keep you messaged. Again, still a low end threat none the least, but we're just being real thorough, and that is really the whole point of this live stream, is to kind of get more in depth. We couldn't communicate all of this and talk this long in a post. It would be too long and you wouldn't read it anyway. So, but that's basically it. So I just want to get a look there at the 1Z, since it already came out, to see exactly if it looked any different if you've been with us the whole time. So
Yeah, absolutely. And this, is supposed to be a little bit more laid back than our usual severe weather live streams, so that y'all can ask questions. And if you have, we're trying to show you kind of the behind the scenes of how we forecast these events, and how we operate going into severe weather events. Because as Christopher has said multiple times, and I don't want to steal his thunder here, but he's always taught me knowledge is power, right?
yeah,
And when you're able to share your knowledge with other people, I think it's pretty awesome. And that's what Christopher brings to the table. Southern Tennessee, whether being a teacher, he's able to communicate that kind of stuff very, very well. So,
I've been
um,
communicating that all day long. Yeah, our first day for, because I teach in Tullahoma, our first day was today. So if my voice sounds a little bit straggly, it sounds a little bit deeper tonight. I was, what, he first got on, and Elijah said, "Dude, you sound tired." Well, I've been up since 5:30. Many of you may have too, but it's been a long day being a teacher. But hey, I love what I do. But you're right, knowledge is power, and to me, the more knowledge you have, the more informed you are. And the whole point of me doing what I've been doing for years is I impart all that knowledge. I give it back to you if you decide what you need to do for you and your family. Okay.
mhm.
And with broadcast, look, you could turn on here in about 20 minutes. You could go watch anybody from Nashville, and they're going to talk about it for 3 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's so much that goes on. There's complexities, there's nuances, things that deserve. And unfortunately, they have to be strangled to that time. And so, where we're at Southern Tennessee Weather, and why honestly, the way things move now, people have told me, because some of you guys know I'm going back to school. I'll be graduating Penn State here in the fall, and they're like, are you going to leave and go to like Nashville and work on TV? I'm like, those people are leaving to come and do this.
Yep.
This is what's happening. The change is happening because you have more leadway, you have more freedom, you have the airtime and available. It's just who's willing to watch, right? Because so many
Yeah.
people are accustomed to, people my age and a little bit older, right? I'm kind of in both feet, being like an older millennial, that I still have one foot in that TV, because I grew up with a Lisa Spencer and a Bill Hall and Dan Satterfield in Huntsville. So I grew up with that, but times are changing, and I think 5 to 10 years from now, it could be more digital, more than it's ever been. So anyway, so that's sorry for a spiel, but that's something that makes us unique. And that, I mean, who else are you going to get weather from? That's from local people. Okay. I mean, yeah, Nashville covers us, but how many times, Elijah, have we heard people talk about there was a storm and they were more concerned with XYZ? And I get it. They're a Nashville market. That's who they're supposed to be after. I get it. And so that's why it's important to have local people that know the roads, that know where the Walmarts are and all the Dollar Generals, because that's very important in Tennessee. All right.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So, to go over real quickly, just kind of a brief overview of the threat for tomorrow. Okay. So,
do you need me
the
to pull up?
severe
I'm sorry.
risk is,
Do you need me? I'm
would you
sorry to
say?
interrupt you. Do you want me to pull up weather front or anything?
No, no, no. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll just yap about it here.
So,
So we have basically two distinct rounds of showers and storms for tomorrow. Round number one is in the morning. Going to be some scattered to widely, or I guess I should say widely scattered to isolated showers and thunderstorms. during the morning hours, most likely between, let's say, 4 to 8 or 9 o'clock a.m. Okay. We'll likely have a break in the early afternoon hours or the late morning, early afternoon hours. And then more scattered showers and thunderstorms will begin to form as we head into the afternoon hours, mainly between, let's say, noon to 1 o'clock, and then all the way into the 7 to 8 o'clock p.m. hour as storms start to exit off to our east. And again, with both of these rounds, these are going to be scattered showers and thunderstorms. We're not talking about a widespread squall line. We're not talking about, damaging winds of 90 miles an hour. We're not talking about, with both of them, any of that stuff, right? We're talking about just scattered showers and thunderstorms, a few of which could be strong, with damaging wind gusts being the primary concern, probably in the 60-mile-per-hour range at the high end. And then there is an isolated tornado threat, not overly impressive. And then also the threat for some isolated flooding as well, with some localized totals of 3+ inches where storms train over the same areas. But a lot of us are going to get out of this event with maybe half an inch at most.
Yeah.
But some of us could see, some healthier totals. But for tomorrow, just stay weather aware, especially in the afternoon hours, and have the Southern Tennessee Weather mobile app downloaded on your phone. It'll give you alerts when rain is approaching, when lightning has been detected within a certain radius of your area, of your phone's location. So just make sure to stay weather aware and stay tuned for additional updates. We'll have updates throughout the day tomorrow as storms begin to fire off. But don't work yourself up over this threat. We're just keep an eye on the sky and keep an eye on the page for additional information as we move into tomorrow. But just scattered showers and storms is basically my big spiel there.
Yeah. And that's basically it. So like you said, stay tuned to us. We will keep you guys informed. The Storm Prediction Center, they like to do their day one outlooks. It'll be overnight. It could be anywhere from like midnight to 2 a.m. And so when we wake up, we'll see. They've been pretty consistent with the slight risk for a couple of days now. And so they'll fine tune what needs to be fine tuned. We'll communicate that messaging out in the morning to let you guys know. And like you said, just stay tuned, and we'll get you through tomorrow, and we'll get on the cooler side for Monday. So that's good for us for a little bit. So I think at this point we'll go ahead and just cut. Well, I don't think there's anything we can't. We've already said that we hadn't said a bunch already. So I thank you guys for spending your Friday night. I know you can do a lot of other things with your life on a Friday night. So like watch TGIF. I'm sorry. That's what I did as a kid, at least. But I hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you guys for your time. And I saw some questions in there. Somebody gave a Dan Satterfield shout out. That's right. He's the OG, baby. That's right. He was my guy. So thank you guys.
And there's a lot of people too that have said thank you for the live stream and going through this information. And I've got Belinda here, and Danny, and Tanya. She's a big one. Kim Foltz, and Gwendolyn, Miss Gwendolyn there in Normandy, downtown Normandy, and then Larry as well. And Rita asked about Lynchburg. Hopefully, we answered your question there about Lynchburg. But thank you guys for real, for everyone that tuned in this evening and trust Southern Tennessee Weather for their weather information. We love to see you guys tuning in, and we thank you for your support.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, from Southern Tennessee Weather, I'm Christopher King, Elijah Kirby, and we appreciate you guys. Have a great night, okay? Bye.
Yes, bye-bye.